So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Mitch Beshegan, and I am a partner at Blockchain Coinvestors. Today, we have a very special session for you all as we are joined by Graham Rodford, CEO of Archax. First, however, I do have a few slides that I need to show everyone. As always, and for the avoidance of doubt, this presentation and webinar are purely for educational purposes only. Nothing I say nor anything Graham says should be construed as investment advice. We would also like to disclose that Blockchain Coinvestors is likely to invest in Archax's current round when it closes. So just a few things briefly on Blockchain Coinvestors. There's three main things we do. The first of which is that we operate a family of fund of funds. Through these funds, we're investors in more than 40 venture capital funds. And through those funds, we have indirect stakes in more than 450 blockchain projects and startups. We're also early stage token investors and take direct stakes into projects before their tokens are liquid, before the project's mainnet live. And then finally, very relevant for today, we have a recently launched mid-stage growth fund, which invests into the leading growth rounds of emerging category leaders and unicorns. That builds on a track record of more than 10 investments in the growth segment. Again, Archax is one of our first investments circled for this fund. And finally, here's a bit more detail on our family of fund of funds. Our first fund is the world's top performing fund of fund in its category, according to Preqin and PitchBook. And our second fund, as you can see, has outstanding performance as well, given the short investing time. And again, we currently have 3 open funds. Our third fund of funds, the early stage token fund, and our mid-stage growth fund. If you are interested in learning more about those funds and you are an accredited investor, please send us an email at ir@blockchaincoinvestors.com and we can get you access to more information. So with that, I will pass the baton to Graham Rodford, the CEO of Archax, in just a minute. Briefly on Archax, they are the first ever digital securities exchange regulated by the FCA in London. That's the Financial Conduct Authority. They're targeted at institutions and also have their FCA brokerage, custody, and crypto asset permissions. So we at Blockchain Coinvestors actually followed the Archax team for about 4 years and are very excited with what they've been building. As you'll see, Graham has assembled an institutional grade team, is building a fully regulated product suite, and brings the experience necessary to work in highly regulated markets. And so with that, I believe Graham is going to put up some slides and introduce himself and start the presentation.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me. And hey, everyone, thanks for attending. So my name is Graham. I am the co-founder and CEO of Archax in London. My background is about 20 years in hedge funds before I started Archax in 2018. The last hedge fund, I was Chief Compliance Officer, Chief Operating Officer, interest in cryptocurrencies around 2013. And then in 2017, 2018, started to realize that actually this wasn't just about cryptocurrencies, but what we were seeing was a bit of a change in the way that financial services was going to work in the future. So with that in mind, we applied to the FCA to become a regulated institutional exchange, and in 2020 we became the UK's first digital securities exchange, custodian and broker. And around that time as well, the UK implemented the crypto asset regime, and we became the UK's first crypto asset firm. So what that means is on Archax is that we can trade securities, digital securities, and cryptocurrencies, and we can also hold custody of cash as well. So when people talk about being a prime broker in crypto, we really believe that Archax can be. We're truly multi-asset, and in the future, as people are looking to optimize their use of capital, they'll hopefully be able to cross-collateralize their assets on Archax. And obviously, whilst cryptocurrencies are global and pretty transferable, regulated securities are a little more difficult, and you need to be aware of the regulation in every jurisdiction. So Archax has actually applied for permissions in Singapore as an overseas foreign market, in Australia for an overseas financial market, in the US as a broker-dealer, and in Netherlands as a broker as well, to allow us to distribute into Europe, to really give us the ability to trade digital securities globally. In terms of what we've achieved so far. The portal's open at the moment. We've got about 900 people registered for the platform in anticipation of our launch. As I mentioned earlier, we've got our regulatory permissions from the FCA, so we are a regulated broker, custodian, and exchange, and we're pushing towards the launch over the course of the next month. We've actually just finished signing off on our friends and family testing. We're about to go live. We're initially going live with our custody product before adding securities and crypto shortly thereafter. Currently, 22 issuances have signed for our platform, so they're SMEs that are looking to issue equity or debt on our platform, and behind that we have 58 more in the pipeline and a much larger database of most of the companies out there looking to create tokenized equity. We've got the regulatory permissions in place at the moment, but we're in permanent discussion with the regulator about Archax's position with regular meetings with government to just ensure the UK is really moving into a place where we can support digital going forwards. So our focus area, it really is on the secondary market. So our core, we're a secondary market for digital securities. We also have the permissions for crypto and traditional securities that I mentioned. And alongside that, with our brokerage permission, we're building out our primary market. So this gives those companies the ability to raise money directly on our platform. And if they want, they can progress to the secondary market, or if they wanted to, they could just raise money before admitting to the secondary market at a later date. We can custody traditional securities, digital securities, cash, all in the same place, and cryptocurrencies as well, with separate permissions from the FCA. And with our brokerage permissions, we can perform OTC transactions, allow trading, and sign off financial promotions in the UK, which we're one of the only companies in the UK that can sign those off for any crypto company. Outside of this, we're working on some wider ranging products. So on the fund management side, as part of this investment round, we're actually speaking to a number of asset managers, one of whom is committed to investing in this round, and they're looking at tokenizing their funds on our platform, excuse me, and hopefully launching a range of exchange traded products as well. So we're trying to consider not just the tokenization of existing equity or new tokenized securities, but also structured products that we think will be a big area going forwards. On the e-money side, they're a big use case in crypto for settling, but on the institutional and regulated side, there are a couple such as Paxos that can be regulated, but there hasn't really been much adoption of those on the institutional side. And we think that the increased use of e-money in this space is going to be widespread in the next couple of years, enabling settling on chain as well as corporate actions. On the DeFi side, obviously it's one of the most innovative areas. A lot of what's happening there, people talk about being finance in the future. We see what's happening there and think a lot of it should be regulated. So we look into the space and look for inspiration and innovation and consider how we can apply it to regulated securities. And then finally, on the digital CSD side, if any of you are familiar with DTCC in the US or Euroclear in Europe, what you'll know is that they're responsible for a lot of the settlement and book entry recording of all transactions. But one of the issues at the moment is that they tend to do it on traditional systems. And if we really want digital securities to be the next technology that all products are built on, then it's necessary that they also record their entries in digital form as well. And Archax actually has an application pending with the Luxembourg regulator to become a digital CSD.